Um, Today we got augmentation approval for Obanaja in Lokoja to Benin Road, Obajana in Kogi State to Benin, a total of 244 kilometers and 489 kilometers dualized. Recall that in 2012, this project was awarded to 4 contractors: CGC, Mothercard, Dantata and so, and then RCC, at a total cost of 122 billion. And that was for light rehabilitation. And about 2018, the past administration reviewed the project and dualized it. And that's why you have a total of 489 kilometers. And then now got no objection from BPP. And then when I came on board in August, we were supposed to present the no objection to FEC in line with the due process. And we decided to review the project, one, to determine whether the dualization was desirable in view of the economic challenges, and two, to see the texture of the soil and what to do. So we went through the route in September, and we saw the need to dualize the route. For example, if you go to Okbela, where you have Dangote and you have Bua, the 2 trucks cannot move side by side in one carriageway. We saw it with our eyes. And we also saw that the terrain for the new carriageway, was very soft. And the only thing that could, attest and arrest the situation, is to use concrete. So we had to now rescope the project, but we didn't increase the cost. And so we got approval for augmentation from 122 billion to 897 billion. And so the contractors were off-site because they will not be working and they will not be paid based on the new basic rates. So we got them back to site, and today we got approval. Now, under FEMA, we got approval for the construction of Isheri North Lagos route, which is to connect Ogun State. And this is an alternative route to Lagos Shagamu Road. And by the law, we're going to tow this Lagos Shagamu when completed. And by law, for you to tow a road, federal road, you have to have an alternative. So this approval of about 2.23 billion to connect, this Lagos Isheri North to Ogun State is a major breakthrough, so that has freed the Lagos Shagamu for tolling. And finally, we also got approval for outer marina shore protection. The shore protection was done over 50 years back with sheet piles. And we had to drag the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And we took a tour with Jilobeja through the entire shoreline of 3.92 kilometers. We went to Jilobeja, we went to CCCC, we went with CBC and the Build Well. And we demanded for them to inspect and then give out their proposal. Only Build Well and CCC brought their proposal, whereas CCC was quoting on 3.2 kilometers and 134 billion. Build Well was quoting on 3.9 kilometers, a difference of 7 kilometers, and quoted 114 billion. We sent the two to BPP, and BPP found merit in Build Well because of cost, and of course, latest technology in doing shore protection using interlocking concrete, which will not be subject to rusting. And so we got approval for Build Well in the sum of 114 billion. And this shore protection is protecting a lot of critical infrastructure of federal government and even state government. The recently inaugurated, rail line in Lagos by Mr. President for Lagos State is just by the shoreline. And we had pictures of what is existing there now, and it's quite critical. And we'll be asking Mr. President to give us special funding, because I have to leverage on the dry season to do the piling work. That's what we had today. Thank you. The policy has not even taken off, very well, because you should ask yourself how many roads today are being done on concrete. But the truth remains that with the cost of bitumen now, contractors are begging that their project should be reviewed on concrete. But the truth is that I just got a document this morning where the three companies producing cement, Dangote, Bua, Lafarge, and they said, in 2023, the total cost of their gas, rose by over 42%. 42%. So if the cost of their gas rose by 42%, and then the import duty exchange rate, has also gone up, so it is expected that the cost of cement could go up. But Mr. President has discussed with them, and I think that a couple of incentives being made available to them, which should reduce the cost of cement. And I think today, like where I went to Sokoto, and the Bua, executive director spoke by himself and said the X factory was 6,000 naira, and that was down from 7,000 to 8,000. And so we are getting there because Mr. President had directed them to reduce price, and they have to comply. And I think Mr. President has also offered some incentives to them. So it's not because we are going from asphalt to this. Now we are not totally leaving asphalt. It's just an alternative, especially where we have very high water table and then very poor soil condition.
I had briefed council on three prominent activities that happened within the last. The first one was on Friday, last Friday in Kebbi State, in Gaski, to be. Okay. Where Mr. President commissioned the largest tomato farm and factory in Nigeria by GB Foods, which is a Spanish conglomerate from the country of Spain, and also a groundbreaking ceremony for further expansion. The current capacity of that factory is 620 metric tons of tomato per day. And with the expansion, that will bring the capacity to 1,200 metric tons per day. The farm is made up of, they have about 6,700 farm workers, and I'm glad to say that 70% of those farm workers are women, ranging from younger ones in their youth age to elderly women. They have an outgrower scheme that also employs about 5,000, cultivates about 5,000 hectares, and they also have of farmland and have 1,500 hectares of seedling production. Mr. President was represented by my humble self, and along with me we had Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning. We also had the Governor of Kebbi State and members of the National Assembly from Kebbi State, members of the State Executive Council, and the Emir of Yauri present at the function. We also had the ambassador of Spain to Nigeria. He was also at like I said, that was a company that is based in Spain. What they have shown, that is a manifestation of the confidence that they have, a foreign company has in the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to not only increase their capacity but increase their presence in Ngaski. I'm not sure if some of you know where Ngaski is. It's on the shores of the upper part of the Kayenji lake in Kebbi State. So it took us almost like 6 hours from Kebbi, between Kebbi, to that particular location. However, they have the nearest exit for them is southwards towards Ilorin, where they will come out around Jabba and Mokwa and to Lagos. They produce concentrates from the tomatoes. Thereby, from there, they take the concentrates to Lagos, where in their factory they manufacture, if you recall, Gino tomato paste. So the farm is in Ngaski in Kebbi State. That was a very eventful program for all of us. We saw the commitment and the compassion that the Spanish company has for Nigerian agricultural space. That is to say, while some are saying that people are leaving the country, but this is a clear manifestation of the confidence this company has in Nigeria. The second event took place on Monday, the 11th of March in Mina, where Mr. President commissioned first set of the 1,000 tractors, John Deere tractors, purchased by the Niger State government. This was a collaboration between the federal government and the Niger State government to key into Mr. President's 8-point agenda of food security and economic empowerment, job creation, and access to capital and inclusivity of women and youth. That was a very good program that we had, where Mr. President also launched and commissioned the special agro-processing zone of about 3,000 hectares just by the side of the airport. And their airport was also renamed after Mr. President. It's now known as Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Airport, Mina. The third function took place this morning at the headquarters of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, where we played host to the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, and his team of about 3 deputy governors and high-ranking members of the CBN. In attendance also were the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, where the CBN governor handed over 2.15 million bags of fertilizer to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture under the directives of Mr. President. This was a very golden gesture by Mr. President, and it came at a time when it is apt and it is needed, because we are on the last phase of the dry season and also the early stage of wet season, rainy season. In fact, in the southern part is the beginning of the rainy season. So this fertilizer will go a long way to boost production. And I think that quantity, depending on the location, because fertilizer is crop and soil specific, but it will go a long way at least to cultivate nothing less than 400 to 500,000 hectares of farmland. So this is timely. Like I said, this will boost agricultural production, and which will mitigate the food inflation that we have today. So we're happy that that gesture is handed over to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And we will also make sure that that fertilizer gets to the intended farmer, to the last mile. We have had things in place. We have drawn up, if you recall, we've been complaining about portfolio farmers, the list that is not verifiable, but we were able to, for the rice season, we were able to, as much as possible, clean up that data and worked with the subnationals and the local governments to come up with a list. What we did was initially we identified the land, because the land must be there for you to become a farmer. So you don't identify a farmer without a land. You identify the land and then identify the farmers that are on that land. We were able to do as much as possible. However, Mr. President has also given his assurance that we'll come up with a more robust data gathering system that will come immediately after our our harvest of the wheat that is coming up in the next couple of weeks. The distribution of the palliatives that was the directive given by Mr. President. Distribution has commenced. However, I would not want to mention anything because of the security aspect of that distribution. We're distributing to state capitals in the first instance now. As you all are aware, the risks involved in vandalization of foodstuff in transit. So we're working assiduously with the Office of the National Security Advisor and the DSS and the police. And as I can assure you, we have started distributing, especially in the northwest, with northwestern states. We're distributing out of 7 points, and that's all I need to tell you. I don't have to tell you any more beyond that. Then the second question was in respect of the irrigation system in Gurara, the center pivot system that was established some years ago, which is line fallow. We have had a company that has approached us, but like you rightly mentioned, that facility is under the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Like other irrigation schemes belonging to Federal Ministry of Water Resources and state governments, we are also interested in those irrigation schemes working because that most irrigation schemes are channeled towards for agricultural production. And in this situation that we find ourselves, it's very important that we collaborate with our sister agencies to make sure that these schemes do work to the benefit of our farmers and the country and for food security. The one thing that is like a lot of infrastructures, irrigation systems are decaying actually, and they need a lot of rehabilitation, and we also need new ones. There are opportunities where we can actually harness and harvest excess water, especially in the flood zone areas, that we can make harvest water for irrigation purposes. Dry season farming is the future, especially with the phenomenon of climate change, irregular pattern of rainfall. Dry season farming and irrigation farming is the surest way that we can do our agricultural production. And so we've been working and talking, and we're collaborating with Federal Ministry of Water Resources. In fact, just this afternoon, we had a discussion on other irrigation systems that to do with especially the Jibia Dam and the Goronyo Dam for the rice planting season. Those are huge bodies of water that will enhance a lot of production in that regard. So that one in Gurara, I'm also interested in because it's center pivot. I've seen center pivot while I was in the States, in my state, in the Borno state, when I was the chief of staff. The governor then had procured a lot of center pivot irrigation schemes, and this is something that is achievable, and it's a very wonderful system. I'm interested in looking at that and see how we can revitalize that program and see how we can. I think it's about 2,000 hectares that's available in Gurara. Even the one that I saw in Mina in Niger State is also the center pivot, where I mentioned that there's 3,000 hectares of production in the special agro zone of close to the airport. So we'll work assiduously. We have also engaged with foreign donors. Even yesterday, I was together with the Associate Vice President Program, National Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, who is visiting this country for this week. And I've also intimated him on the need to look into um, financing of the rehabilitation of some of the decaying infrastructure, especially in irrigation. So I believe we're working on that, and hopefully before the next dry season, we should have quite a few of those ones working as they're intended for.
I also presented reports on some of the activities of my ministry in the last 2 weeks. As you recall, I represented Nigeria at the 13th Ministerial Conference of the WTO at Abu Dhabi, and there we discussed a lot of issues. Nigeria participated in a lot of the discussions and negotiations that were ongoing, discussions around fishery subsidies, the special public stockholding, special and differential treatment, e-commerce moratorium, international development facility for developing countries, and many other negotiation areas. Well, at the meeting, it's the World Trade Organization is actually a 166 member organization, and some of the, I think one of them that was, well, the discussions and negotiations are still ongoing, and we were able to secure an extension of the e-commerce moratorium, and also we're able to get a some extension for agriculture negotiation. So we have the text for agriculture negotiation, and that's actually the first in 16 years. And apart from the MC13, we had a lot of sideline meetings, and one of the most fruitful one was the discussion and the meeting we had with the DG of the WTO, and that culminated in the WTO giving us a lot of support. And just yesterday, the DG of the WTO came to Nigeria to launch the programs of areas of support from the WTO and ITC to the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment in support of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. One pertinent thing to note at that support is the fact that having gone through the initiatives that we presented for the president's achievement of the president's 8-point agenda, they actually approved a lot of them, and we are very excited to support Nigeria with both technical assistance and financial assistance. In addition to the WTO and ITC supporting, they also mobilized donor agencies like the World Bank and other development agencies, embassies, Afrexim, AFDB, IFC, all of them were there to support and show that participation. Some of the areas, or there were 7 areas of support that the WTO gave us yesterday. One is on the special trade development, standard trade development facility. The standard trade development facility actually helps to reduce the amount of export rejects, agricultural export rejects. I know a number of you have been asking questions, how do we reduce the amount of rejects coming out from Nigeria especially? This is the second time the WTO will be giving Nigeria that sort of support. What it does is it helps us to improve the standards of the export, and in line with the sanitary and the phytosanitary standards of, the sanitary standards and phytosanitary standard actually speaks to both organic and inorganic residues or contaminants of food products. Organic is where you're talking about weevils and pests, while inorganic is like the chemical components, where you see those chemical components in pesticides and fertilizers and herbicides. So this will help the farmers, train them in how to farm and how to store their products, package it, produce it to standard that will be acceptable to the countries where we're exporting to. The first support we got from WTO on this area was in the area of shea butter. And with that support, the women that were exporting this shea butter saw an increase in their income by about 300%. And so it helped them to remove stones, smell, packaging, making it look nicer. And so it made it more acceptable to the exporting or importing countries. So we're going to see that support coming into cowpea and sesame. Cowpea is more important for us because we have this, it supports the food security agenda of Mr. President. So we're going to see more support for cowpea and sesame. That will increase the amount of export and hopefully increase the amount of investments that will be going into this area. And when that happens, we see more inflow of foreign exchange coming from just this alone. The statistics we have for both cowpea and sesame is over $9 billion of worth of trade that happens there from Nigeria alone. So we should see us trapping that sort of amount coming back to Nigeria. Most of those trade are lost because we get to Japan, that's one of the largest importers of sesame, and they are rejecting our sesame because it's not meeting up to their standards. So this is going to help us to remove that impediment and see an increase of inflow coming. And with that, there's more job creation. People go back to farm, they're incentivized, they're happy because they are producing what people are buying. And there's no greater joy in labor or dignity of labor when you're producing what people really want and they're buying it. The second area of support we're getting is in the area of digital trade. The WTO is partnering with World Bank to give us support in digital trade. That includes hardware, that's hard infrastructure, that's the fiber optic connectivity, and soft infrastructure, software platforms, and all of that. This will help us to improve e-commerce trading for MSMEs. You know, the future of trade is digital. And if we can get our MSMEs, our manufacturers and entrepreneurs to sell more through e-commerce platforms, it increases their reach, improves market access, and improves their productivity. We are partnering with the Ministry of Digital Innovation, Digital Economy and Innovation to roll out this. This is actually a $1 billion grant given to, or $1 billion facility by the World Bank given to 9 countries. And the WTO was able to accede to our request to participate in the rollout. The third area of support coming from the WTO is in the area of developing the Trade Intelligence Unit within the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. The Trade Intelligence Unit is actually a nexus to gather data and information on everything trade, manufacturing, the economy, economic activities are going on in the country, locally and globally. So it helps us to actually harness information, analyze that information, and be able to predict global market trends. When you're able to predict global market trends, it helps you to make informed decisions, formulate policies, and help you to focus on areas of comparative advantage that gives you the opportunity to, to actually scale or develop faster. And that improves our economic diversification and inflow of foreign investment. We're also getting support for cotton development. The cotton belt has witnessed a lot of disinvestment over the years. The support we are getting from the WTO will help the cotton farmers to farm more, farm better quality products, and be able to participate in the sports apparel market. Now, you recall at the WTO MC13 event, the WTO signed an agreement with FIFA to support the cotton countries. So Nigeria is going to participate in that agreement. The cotton apparel is a $270 billion industry. Nigeria participating in that agreement helps the cotton farmers to farm more and improve their income. And of course, create jobs, reduce insecurity in that cotton belt. And so we're really optimistic and looking forward to this. We got support for women entrepreneurship with the development of the Union Women Entrepreneurship Fund is a $50 million facility. Nigeria will be participating with other African countries, and it's open to women, especially to improve their entrepreneurship activities and help them to export more. We got support for custom valuation training and for training on trade-related aspects of intellectual property. We're developing our intellectual property and we're going to be reforming that. So this is coming at a very, very auspicious time to support the IP process and the IP laws of Nigeria to improve our investment in non-physical or service-related investments. So all of these supports are coming because they believe in the administration of the president, they believe in his vision, and they said it clearly that the reforms that we're putting out, yes, might take some time, but that's the right way, and that's the right direction of travel. And so all of these supports are coming both technically and financially to give us the boost to make sure that we achieve this. When we get all of this support, the achievement of attaining a 1 trillion economy is within our reach. So we are really excited and very thankful and grateful to the president for his bold leadership and for his direction, and for the WTO and the member and the donor agencies who came together to give us this support.
Also in council today, Mr. President reiterated his directive to the security agencies and the Ministry of Defense to ensure that those our kids that have been abducted by these criminal gangs are brought back to their homes safely. And Mr. President has also reiterated his zero tolerance for the payment of ransom. That was also mentioned by Mr. President in Council today. So the security agencies are working around the clock. These children and people that have been abducted by criminal elements will be brought back to safety pretty soon. The security agencies are working hard in that direction. And Mr. President has also directed that no ransom will be paid by government to any of these criminal elements. I think it's important that that is being put out there. Thank you. I will now invite gentlemen of the press to ask questions. And then also in council today, Mr. President reiterated his directive to the security agencies and the Ministry of Defense to ensure that those our kids that have been abducted by these criminal gangs are brought back to their homes safely. And Mr. President has also reiterated his zero tolerance for the payment of ransom. That was also mentioned by Mr. President in Council today. So the security agencies are working around the clock. These children and people that have been abducted by criminal elements will be brought back to safety pretty soon. The security agencies are working hard in that direction. And Mr. President has also directed that no ransom will be paid by government to any of these criminal elements. I think it's important that that is being put out there. Government is still reviewing these offers, and the position of government will be made known to you. But it is true that some of these are happening. We have seen what has happened in Kaduna, in Maiduguri, in Borno State rather, and then in Sokoto. Of course, government is watching that very closely. Mr. President has said that this is an unacceptable situation. He is not going to, the government will not condone abductions or kidnappings or any kind of criminality in that direction. We're seeing, of course, this happen, and government is taking very proactive steps, first to mitigate that and also to stop the spread of this apparent, we are seeing some kind of movement by, the more the security agencies are also hitting these targets, the targets of criminals, the more they are pushed to also getting some soft targets. But government is not taking any excuses. The president has directed that security agencies must, as a matter of urgency, ensure that these children and all those who have been kidnapped are brought back in safety, and also in the process to ensure that not a dime is paid for ransom. So it's important to underscore that. No dime, government is not paying anybody any dime, and the government is optimistic that these children and other people that are abducted will be brought back to their families in safety. Very important for us to note that. President has also introduced the issue of social security and consumer credit. We mentioned that in the last press briefing we had. So all this is being taken together, and Mr. President is not stopping or suspending the students' loan. Indeed, he's revamping that. He's ensuring that it comes about strongly, so that Nigerians and especially the families of the less privileged take advantage of that so that they can get education.
I think the starting point is invite the representative of the media houses in the room to go to the website of the ministry, fmcide.gov.ng. We released a white paper explaining the motive behind this fund that we're putting together. So that white paper is called Broadband Access for All. And I think we should take this seriously as a nation. This has been well documented that every country that is able to increase just by 10% the quality of its connectivity, you can see almost 2% increase in their GDP. So this is significant. It's one of the strongest ways in which we believe we can raise the level of productivity across our critical sectors, including security. To the question on sources of funding, this is a fund that we've started putting together in under just 3 months. We have interest, very strong interest from Afro-Exim Bank. The UX-Exim is interested. Like I said, I think about 3 weeks ago, we hosted a session here in Abuja with the World Bank and the private sector players in that space in Nigeria. And last week, I spent 4 days out of last week with World Bank again in DC, looking at connectivity issues, and IFC was also part of the room as well. We don't think the challenge is in raising the money because everyone understands the return on investment on any infrastructure related investment, particularly on connectivity, is high. I think the story of MTN and Airtel when they set up in Nigeria and how the business has been doing over the years can attest to that. So we do think we're going to get more commitment. The commitment from AFDB is the firm one. We've had just one meeting with them and they came back with a strong commitment of $200 million towards this. And lastly that I'll say on this is not just a fund that will come from the government. We're also speaking to the private sector as well, because it's a strong business opportunity. So we have a lot of private sector, both local and foreign, players that are interested in also being part of the fund as well. But again, I'll encourage that you please visit our website, find that white paper. It will give a lot of context to why we're doing this. As we all know, as a nation, we've made significant progress when it comes to our ability to be able to attract investment into the communication sector, particularly the telecommunications space. Today, Nigeria is probably one of the most attractive markets for telecommunications company on the African continent. We do have some of the biggest players in this space in the country, and we're extremely fortunate that they've also, alongside governments, invested in the critical infrastructure, the backbone that actually drives connectivity within the country. But we also recognize that there's still a lot to be done in that space. So the 3 things I'm going to talk about is looking at how we leverage this infrastructure, of course, to drive prosperity, but also to secure our people as well. So the first thing we're doing, which has been pushed by Mr. President, is leveraging existing infrastructure that we have within NIGECOMSAT, which is the satellite company. Most of you know that Nigeria is the only country in West Africa with a satellite. But also leveraging the fiber network of Galaxy Backbone to deploy connectivity to all the 774 local government secretariats. Those who are following that project, which was announced about 2-3 weeks ago, would also see that we've actually started the connectivity. So a number of local government secretariats in Kogi State are now connected. A number in Zamfara are being connected this week. In Imo State are being connected this week. In the next 6 months, our goal is to reach at least 8 of the states within the country to demonstrate the pilot. And the goal is to then take it from there and cover the entire country. We believe that if these local government secretariats are connected, because they're the closest form of government to our people, that we can help them use technology to serve the people better, but also it can enhance security significantly as well. The second thing we're doing, which the president is backed, is actually now investment in extending our backbone for connectivity. Again, what drives connectivity in any country is the fiber optic network. This is the biggest foundation for connectivity. Nigeria is projected to invest in 120 kilometers of fiber optic cable to be able to cover the entire country. At the minute, we're at about 35,000 kilometers. We've done the numbers working with the best companies in this space. It will cost us less than $1 billion to complete the deployment of fiber optic cable. And the president is giving the go-ahead for us to source fund for that. So we are in the process of setting up a $2 billion fund. I said it costs less than $1 billion. But the reason why we're setting up a $2 billion fund is to use the balance to drive down the cost of connectivity in the country. We want to ensure that all schools are connected, all hospitals in the country that they are connected, and also all government facilities as well. So we're in the process of setting up this fund. We've already received significant interest from the Africa Development Bank, who are looking to put about $200 million into this. We're in extensive and deep conversation with the World Bank on this as well. The model we're taking, which is we're using the special purpose vehicle, is to actually also crowd in investment from the private sector to be able to deploy the fiber optic network that we want to deploy in the country. And I think lastly, is to actually also speak to the work that we've been doing with Ministry of Defense. So we are in conversation with the Ministry of Defense to see how we can use enhanced satellite capabilities to help our security agencies to be able to do their work better. I can't give much details on that until we're in an advanced stage where we can begin to share what can be shared to the public. But this is something that the government is looking deeply into, and we're making significant progress on it as well.
World-class consumer credit system for the benefit of tens of millions of Nigerians. Honorable Emmanuel Eke hails from Abia State and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Mass Communications from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Born on the 4th day of July, 1960, Barrister Issa Buratai hails from View local government area of Borno State. He attended Buratai Primary School and Federal Government College, Ikoipene, in Akwa Ibom State between 1968 and 1979. The 23rd day of March, 1963, in Forcados, Burutu local government area of Delta State. Blessing Ataguba obtained her bachelor's degree in social sciences from Teesside University in the United Kingdom, followed by a master's degree in development studies from the University of Surrey in the United Kingdom. She went on to serve as the head of office at the Citizen Advisory.
Do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God. I, the Private Program, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of my ability, faithfully and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and in law, and always in the interest of the sovereignty, integrity, solidarity, well-being, and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I exercise the authority vested in me as Commissioner, National Population Commission, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as Commissioner, National Population Commission, and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being.
utilize the authority lawfully vested in the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and security, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that in all circumstances I will do right to all other people according to law, that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as Commissioner, National Population Commission, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as Commissioner, National Population Commission, and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of Nigeria. So help me God.
You know, census taking is a very sensitive thing, especially in Nigeria. So that's why every state has a representative on the commission. Today, we witnessed the swearing of 17 of them. Last 2 weeks, we had one from Lagos State. We still have 3 more outstanding to make the full commission. So we like to seize the opportunity to thank Mr. President for this appointment and for making sure that there's no vacuum created in the commission. This marks a critical step in assisting the commission to carry on the preparation for the conduct of the census. No date has been approved for us yet, but we made a recommendation to Mr. President. We're awaiting his approval. It actually positions us very well in the preparation of the census, because you cannot, it's a national thing, so we have to be in every state of the federation preparing for the census. If you don't have a commissioner from that state, the pace of preparation for the census will slow down, because the director in the state alone cannot handle that. It needs a commissioner to really support him.